Hi, guys, and welcome back to Mystic Mamas. We're here for another episode. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dakota.
And today we're going to talk about stress addiction and worry addiction and all the things that kind of like can come with. And for me, I first found out about this even being a thing. And whenever I read The Big Leap a few years ago, I don't know if Dakota's talked about this book yet because she's recently reading it. I'm recently rereading it also. And it just reminded me of like how much I'm addicted to stress and how much I'm like truthfully constantly creating these moments. They're like dopamine hits, right? Like it's just, I first realized how much dopamine I got from stress whenever I quit the service industry, like waiting tables, especially because like for the first time in my life, if you've ever waited tables or worked in the restaurant industry, you know, it's like pure chaos all the time. And especially if you work in a busy, high volume restaurant, which I always have. And so it's like always just getting hits of this like stress dopamine, like especially when you're like in the weeds or something. It's not something I really recognized until later, whenever like now that I'm a stay-at-home mom, like it's so quiet and it's so like it should be almost not with children, right? Not with children, it's like not peaceful and quiet, but it's just like it's slow. I don't have to like constantly like, and I create myself situations at home where I need to get the laundry done. I need to do this. I need to do that. But technically, none of that's as like needs based as when you're in a rush at a restaurant and like you have to get things done and you have to get things out. Like it's like it's really fucking hard for me to be still. And I thrived in the industry, not only because I have ADHD and like multitasking is really great for me, but like the pressure and the stress and the like all those dopamine hits, like it was a high and a high that I no longer have. And so like I forget. And then I end up in these moments where I'm like creating this stress, you know?
Yeah, I find those moments for myself as well whenever I'm like rushing. I feel like I talked about this in the past podcast, but I'm gonna say it again. I'll be rushing to get out the house. Like, whose time are you on? It's just me and the baby. Like, I don't have to rush to go on a walk. Like, what am I doing? You know? And I'll do it even like you said, like you mentioned, the laundry, the dishes, all of it. Like technically all of that can wait, but I make it so that it can't. Like I have to do that before I do this. And it really doesn't need to be. And I've also realized that that's just myself causing stress in my life because I also came from a background of being in the service industry and being in really like just high intensity working jobs. Like you have to be on at all times and all points. Even with the call center, right? Like I was constantly getting calls, like you didn't stop. And like that was very stressful. And now I'm in the state of being in motherhood. And honestly, motherhood could be so much more peaceful if I let go of that addiction to stress. And I still struggle with it, honestly. But yeah, I feel you on that, D. I'm right there with you 100% of the way.
Yeah, well, when you like get out of the industry and you're home alone and like there's so many, and it's not just the industry, right? Like there's, you can be addicted to stress no matter what job you have. It's, I'm truthfully, the root of it is most likely childhood trauma, growing up in a chaotic household. This isn't just rooted because I worked in the service industry. The service industry suited me so well because I was already used to a chaotic life, like my family's in the restaurant industry. So like I've been surrounded by chaos. Not only that, but like our home life too is just like very chaotic, very touch and go. And so I never felt like I just like I've just been in it my whole life, honestly. And so when I think back to like having to unlearn that and like it's been very hard. Like I read this book a few years ago and I'm having to reread it again because I think that's why healing kind of takes a while. Like you can be aware of your patterns and then like not realize you're in the middle of one all of a sudden and be like, oh shit, I've been in another pattern. And even though I know about this pattern of mine, like I fell into it again before I could realize. You have to like get yourself out sometimes before you can like actually embody the lesson, which I'm still struggling with, no lie. Like I constantly have to like get myself out of patterns, which every time you notice one and you get yourself out, it is weakening that pattern. So it's all progress, even if it's not as fast as like we would like. Because I would love to just be like, oh, I'm aware of that pattern. It's gone. The end. KO. Never have to worry about it again. But that's just not how it's been in my experience. If that's your experience,
That's not my
very
experience.
happy for
You're
you.
not talking to me. I
I'm
know
not
you're not
talking.
talking to me.
No,
No,
I'm not talking to you, but
it's definitely hard. And I feel like that's the first step, right? The first step is awareness. So maybe
it is.
you go through that fight, that argument that you're picking, or whatever it is, that stress, maybe it's rushing out of the house, and then take a moment. And something that I constantly tell myself is be here now. Like I'll take a deep breath, like in, out, and like be here now. Like when I think about being here now, nothing needs to be rushed. There actually isn't an argument that I have to pick here. There actually isn't stress going on here. Like, and it's really taking a moment too, even like right after you do it, right? Maybe you realize you're aware, shit, I just did that thing I didn't want to be doing anymore. And then just be like, okay, what's really going on here? Like, what internally is really going on? And I actually experienced this not too long ago. Um, I don't know if I ever gave this example or like told this story in the past, but I went with my sister with my family to meet my sister and her family to this little like play park area. And I realized that it was already like 2 o'clock and the baby hadn't eaten and since like the breakfast. And I was really stressed in the beginning about like feeding her on time and feeding her because, you know, whenever you get them off the bottle or they're still kind of drinking milk, it's hard to decipher like, oh, are they hungry? Are they not? When are they hungry? Are they hungry when I'm hungry? Because I'm not hungry for hours, you know, like it's really hard to decipher that in the beginning. Now I just have her on a schedule, but like, so I skipped that time I was supposed to feed her like normally, and I was just stressing about it. We walked into that play area and I realized I was starving. And if I was starving because we haven't ate in a while, then she must be starving. And I kind of explained that to my sister. I was just like, "Oh, well, I'm hungry," because she mentioned I had an attitude. Because I probably did, honestly. And that's right there. That's, you know, a part of the pain body kind of coming up. And I'll explain the pain body in a second after I'm done with the story. But so I was hungry. I told her that. And then when I told her, like, the whole reason we came was because she said that there was going to be food there and there wasn't. So that's where I got the attitude from. I was just like, ugh, there's no food here. We haven't eaten. And then I kind of got attitude with my sister. She got attitude with me, and I was like, whatever, we're leaving. So we didn't even go play. We didn't do anything. I just grabbed our stuff and we left. And once I got into the car, I then picked a fight with Fred. And it wasn't really picking a fight. I just felt like he didn't have my back inside the play area when in reality, like once we got home and I settled down and it was like quiet and I ate after I ate some food, right? And the baby was taken care of, I realized I was just stressed out about not having her eating and knowing that she hasn't eaten yet is really like was eating at me internally, you know? And
Yeah.
I projected outward as like, why I'm hungry and you're being selfish and no one's looking out for me. And so like when you really just take a moment to take a step back and be like, yo, like what's really going on here? You'll realize internally there's just something that you're outwardly projecting that maybe doesn't fully reflect what's internal. But after I did that, I just realized, okay, we're going to watch internally what I do forward and also apologize to these people because that wasn't me. That was my ego. That was the pain body. And if you've ever read The Power of Now, I'm referring to the pain body. It's pretty much, if you know, it's the stored and stuck emotions inside your body, kind of how Danielle explained it. We get these from early childhood. They stay with us. It could be not just from early childhood, but any trauma that you've had going forward, any emotions that have really been loud in your life. And then they stay stuck if you don't process them. And so the ego lives there and the ego loves it there because we're unconscious there. And so the moment we become conscious, we then break away. We put the light into the darkness and we're allowed to like prosper. Now we're aware. Now we can accept and now we can move forward. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I forgot what you were saying, Dee, but but yeah, that's a part of the pain body and what I've learned from a lot of books, actually. I know you mentioned The Big Leap, but the two that really have stuck with me about stress and addiction has been Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That one is a really good one for it. And then The Power of Now, which they both essentially really talk about both of these things and how when you're unconscious, you're constantly living from the pain body or from being addicted to those high emotions, strung out, freaking stress.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy how many things that we kind of can conjure up, like sometimes when you think of like stress or drama, right? It's like
Mhm.
these big outward things whenever we don't like really always check in with the fact that a lot of it can be inward. Like
Mhm.
I'm not a like very dramatic outsourced like outward person, but I have a lot of drama inside. I have a lot of internalized drama where I'm constantly thinking, constantly stressing, constantly worrying. And in the Big Leap, or something else that they stuck with me all those years ago was like warriors is like worrying warriors is like gambling. Every now and then you're right. And it's like a hit, like, okay. And I
Mhm.
get in this space, and especially now, because before I was a stay-at-home parent, like, and had a kid, period, there was a lot of things that I did that contributed to those dopamine hits that I was getting from stress, whether it be working in the industry, gossiping with people at work, gossiping about regulars, trauma bonding at work, all of this like crazy stuff, but also other things that I was doing that actually was like for my benefit that I love doing caused stress. Buying a bunch of festival tickets without knowing how I was going to get there, buying a bunch of outfits and spending money when I was supposed to be budgeting to even get there. And like, even though it all worked out and I was always fine, it was like the stress, procrastinating on saving money for that festival till 2 weeks before and having to pick up 1,500 doubles just to go to Vegas, just to go to whatever festival it was, because that's 99% of the time I just bought tickets and was like, I don't know how I'm going to get there. I've got $5 in my bank account, but I'm going to make it, and I'm
Mhm.
going to have all new outfits, and I'm going to have all these things. And like, even though, yes, I don't regretting that, it was stressful. It was like adding to my stress. It was like, boom, there's a hit. Boom, you got to worry about that. Now you got to budget that. Now you got to pay off this ticket. Now you need plane tickets. Now you need a plan. And it's like, I was getting so much like, just like,
Mhm.
and whether it's not great dopamine, I'm not saying this is good dopamine, like, but it was giving me a high of some sort. And like when I stopped, it's like all this internal chaos. And I'm like, oh shit, like, being still, being peaceful, being like slow, like this slow life feels so unsafe. It feels so unsafe. I don't even know how to handle it. And like knowing your comfort zone is chaos and stress and worry is a mind fuck in itself. And it can like, I had to get over that fact too. Like, oh, like this is me. I'm comfortable most in this chaos. And it's like the same with like major gain and gaining it back. It's like it's outside of my comfort zone to be this at peace. I need to be worried about my weight. I need to be worried about this. And when I worry, I feel like I'm doing something about it. Just like we talked about with Lisa in our podcast with her, it's like worry makes me feel like I'm doing something about it. It makes me feel like, oh, okay. And then also I struggle with letting Daniel be in his mask and take care of everything because I worry that
Mhm.
if I'm not worried about it, if I'm not stressed out about it, who is?
Mhm.
Who is? And who's going to take care of it? And what is it? I don't know. I don't even fucking know. I'm just worried about it. It's,
Bro, I was just gonna mention that too. Like having your man deal with the finances and you have no say in it. Like I just will like pick fights out of nowhere, and it's like, dude, we're taken care of. Like, what am I actually mad at? What am I actually like frustrated with? Because it's not only stress, right? Or yes, stress can look like guilt, shame, anger, frustration, yeah, all of those, right? Like all the
yeah.
emotions. Stress can look like all those emotions. And so when you see yourself getting into like a stressful state, so maybe it's frustration, maybe it's even like depression and sadness, like just try to understand, like, is there actually a problem that's going on here, or am I creating it from within? Because a lot of the time, girl or guy, if you're listening, you're creating it. I'm sorry to tell you. And the thing with motherhood too, something that how I create it when I'm not even realizing that I'm creating is watching drama TV shows. I constantly watch that shit over and over again, and I cannot stop. And I know I'm addicted to that, but I didn't realize it was because it causes stress within me. Because with our thoughts, we can create that stress, that fight or flight within us. And so then we get addicted to those like stress thoughts and thought loop patterns. And then we just keep doing it. And how you can be doing that is simply by watching your favorite TV shows. For me, my favorite is like Vanderpump and like literally like the worst ones, like the worst
Yeah.
ones. Bachelor, I'm just addicted to all of the like really bad reality TV shows, guys. Like has to do with
No.
love. has to do with like fighting, I'm in for it.
No, but it is addicting. And that's what I was telling. I recently, I haven't gotten very far into it, but I recently put on
Don't
Vanderpump
do it.
Rules.
Don't do
And
it.
I was like, so far, I'm like so behind, right? Like, it's like, I'm looking at them like, why aren't they in business casual? And I'm like, oh shit, this is like 2009.
Yeah,
Let me
literally.
back up. But watching it instantly put me back in like the restaurant industry because it is
Yes.
so incredibly full of drama and I miss it. I mean, Dakota have talked about it. I miss it. Some days I miss it. And it's like, it's
Me too.
because it was such a high. It was such, not only the money part, but just like the rush of it all, the like intensity of it all, and to be in this slow, soft life has been something that I never thought I would really have to like get used to. I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, stay-at-home mom, just hang out all day. And I'm not invalidating that it is stressful, it is difficult, it is all of these things are true. It's not having kids does bring up a lot of the world becomes scarier in a lot of ways because you love something so much that it's like, okay, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
I just want to protect it at all costs. So I'm not invalidating the like real and true stress and worries that comes with motherhood and comes with life in general. Even if you're not a mom, there's a lot going on, but we do tend to like get out of the present moment and worry future past, things we cannot change, things we cannot predict, things we cannot control, and we worry about them. And I'm speaking from my own experience
Mm-hmm.
because I do this constantly. I struggle so much with being present and being in this present moment, not only because I am an anxious, I am an anxious mom. Um, and this comes with a lot of different things, but just I struggle. I'll be in the present moment having a good time, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, what if we got in a car crash right now?
Mm-hmm.
What if something happened and someone tried to like take my kid from me right now? And I start thinking, and then it's like I start wondering what I would do in these scenarios and stressing myself out and worrying like, how would I handle this? And then it like explodes. That is me creating chaos in my mind. Whereas, yes, that is a worry. That is a valid worry. Like, but these aren't things we can control. And these are things that could happen at any point. But like, it's not something I need to sit and loop and wonder and do and all these things past the point of like, okay, none of this is even happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes me out of the present moment with my family and into this like made up world of worry and fear and stress. And it creates this feeling in my body that is a high. It's a hit. It's all these things. And it's most of the time we also do it to kind of like distract ourselves, to keep ourselves from having to feel real feelings and having to like look at what's really happening. And I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast. Forgot the name of this guy, but it was a stress podcast, and he wrote the book something about drama.
Scott
Anyways,
Lyons.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you. I
Mm-hmm.
was like trying to think of it in my head. I was like, I know it. I literally was just listening to it.
Yeah,
But
I re-listened to it. It's a good one. You guys should listen to it. It's like 6 ways to determine if you're addicted to stress or something
it
like that.
is very
Yeah.
informative, and I also want to read his book. But he says in that, and it stuck with me because it was drama is not about, or drama stress is not about making sense. It's about making sensation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, that hits, because like it is a sensation. It is like and if it's your comfort zone, it brings you back. Like I struggle to find joy and happiness because I'm so worried about the what ifs a lot. And it's not that I'm not enjoying this time with my family. Prime example, I'll give you a prime silly example. We were at the zoo with my family this week, and my brother was here with his wife and his son, and our boys are the same age, and it was great. We were having a great time. You know what I was thinking about 99% of the time? What happens if my kid falls in one of these enclosures? What happens if an animal gets loose and I have to like run with my child right now? These were literal things I'm thinking about, instead of like, at any time I had a moment like this tiger was there and it was like right up against the glass and the boys were like, tiger, can I touch it? And we were all like, it was cute. But the whole time I was like, what if this, like Harry Potter, what if this glass breaks? And it's silly. Like, this isn't really a valid like fear. Like, this glass isn't gonna break. The tiger wasn't even like attacking. It was just laying there, literally chilling. And the way that it's set up, but there was like Daniel was holding Oliver, and I was like, what if he flings himself back? Like, this is what was filling my brain instead of just being present and enjoying this beautiful time with my family, because we were having so much fun. It was a perfect zoo day. It was empty. It wasn't hot. It was just all these things should have been just me having fun and being present with my family. But because I get in these patterns of it's not my comfort zone, and I'm learning to heal and grow out of that. But it's a process. And there's some days where I'm really good at it, and some days where I'm just full of like, I have OCD, so I do have a lot of intrusive thoughts, but sometimes I feed into them and allow them to go instead of like being like, okay, be here now. That actually has helped me a lot in my life, because since I heard it, I don't know where it's from, but
I got it from the Power of Now. I'm not too sure. I'm sure there's meditations
yeah,
that
there's
get.
anyways, just to backtrack, yeah, I have to ground myself and center myself and remind myself that like, look, this isn't actually fears I need to be immediately worried about. I'm just trying to take myself out of this feeling of joy and gratitude for my family and this time we get together, because like I feel unsafe in those feelings, and I have to learn how to feel safe in those feelings. And if that's you, I just want to send you love, because it can be really hard to even like have that awareness about yourself, or to know like, damn, I struggled to find happiness and joy because I'm so used to being in this like stress chaos, and it's not always easy. And so, yeah, it's definitely, that's just an example of like a moment recently that I find myself like being taken out of the present moment, because, you know, the present moment is all we have. And anytime you're in these like stress worries, it's one or the other. You're 99% of the time, you're either in the future or in the past trying to
Yeah.
like mess with something. And so I don't know where I was going with the story, but uh, yeah, it's really hard. And
Yeah.
it's not something that's easy. And I know a lot of us don't even like recognize it. I never even knew you could be addicted to something like stress. When you think of addictions, it's like drugs, alcohol, the basics, you know? You forget to realize that like there's a lot of things we can get addicted to. Stress is one of them, and it's all about finding dopamine and numbing ourselves from our actual life and getting into comfort zones that don't serve us.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, these like stress hormones and all that, it keeps us from change. Because when we're constantly like addicted to that stress, then we're just staying in it without being conscious of it, right? We're just like in that unconscious state. So for me, right, going back to before I listened to that podcast, because that's what told me I was addicted to stress, and watching drama shows was creating stress within my life. I would watch it unconsciously because I just thought, oh, this is a good way for me to relax and release. No, girl, this is actually creating more stress into your life, and you're addicted to it for that reason. You're not addicted to the show. You're addicted to the stress that it creates within your mind, within your body, within your brain. Like, once he told me that, I was like, dang, there's a lot of areas actually in my life that I do create the stress that I'm not realizing. And anxiety, I feel like as you guys have known, I've talked about this in the past, but I've had really bad anxiety. I've done a lot of work around it, and now I'm doing a lot better than I ever have. But that's what my anxiety was. I was always either thinking about the past or thinking about the present. I mean, thinking about the present or thinking about the future. And it always
Yeah.
has to do with the present, right? So it's like presently, maybe it's like about financials, and you're like, dang, are we going to be able to pay this? Are we going to be able to pay that? But it's like, that's future tense, right? Like the money will come as long as you are in full acceptance and like alignment with the energetic state of whatever you're wanting. I'm telling you, it sounds woo woo, but if you're here, then you are woo woo. The money will come. It will. And a lot of the times, I don't think we realize how often the money comes when we're not even thinking about it. Like you think you're going to be behind on rent in some way, you get money coming in. I don't know, maybe a random check to you, maybe someone lent you money or whatever, but it always comes and you're always taken care of. So when we're stressing about things we cannot control or we cannot change, it just creates more stress within our bodies. And so just take a moment to like really realize where you may be doing that, especially when you're in the moment of it. Sometimes I even realize that I do this often, like when Fred tells me he's supposed to be home, because if you know that my partner, he has wild hours, okay, wild hours. It's never consistent. We don't have a consistent day-to-day thing. But he'll be like, I'm coming, I'll be home early today. 5 hours later. Like, no. No, he didn't come home. And then I'm over here stressed because he's not home, or I'm angry because he's not home. When he gets home, I'm like mad at him for walking through the door. It's like, what am I even angry at? What am I even mad at right now? He's home now. Presently, I should be happy now that he's home. Everything's taken care of. There's nothing to be worried about. And I know sometimes, I'm just burnt out and need a break, and I get that. But also, like, this happened yesterday, literally yesterday. And the baby was fine. It wasn't even like she was being wild or anything. I was just like, we need breaks. And I'm not invalidating that, because as moms, we all need some time to ourselves because it helps everything else in our lives. But in that moment, I was just like, there's nothing wrong. There's no reason for me to be angry at him. And for no reason, really. You know what I mean? Like, this man's just going to work and coming home, and then he has to deal with me and my stress. Like, that does not help him. But something that I recently learned, or relearned, because we read that book like in the beginning of the year, last year or this year. It was
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Yeah. I don't remember. I want to reread it.
Yeah, I read some parts in there, and he talks about how whenever you are in like your stress, sorry, I'm trying to read my notes. When the ego is under constant stress, then it has this like me first priority, making us become self-centered, self-important, and self-indulgent. So a lot of the time when you're in this stress hormone, right, you're in that fight or flight, you're only thinking about self. And of course you have your baby or whatever, but that's like in a real situation. A bear was coming, then I feel like you would be thinking possibly about your family. But this is like a stress I created within myself, and I'm only thinking about me. And it's because we really focus on like the big three, which is the body, the environment, and time. Those are the main three things that cause us stress. So is our body not safe right now because I'm super thirsty and I don't have water or something like that, right? No, that's actually a real stress. But whatever, you know what I'm saying? The environment, like, so this can go back to money, right? Like, oh, am I going to lose my house because we don't have money? I'm just using money as an example. Okay. And time, like, you're always stressed about time. So those three things, like, I can even think about it in the past where I've been stressed about my body weight, right? So like when I think about my body, I don't feel safe because maybe I'm in a bigger size than I've ever been, that's currently true. And then sometimes I make up this like false narrative in my head that like I'm never going to get to point A, B, and C because of the way I look, which isn't true. And then time, it's like, oh, I don't have enough time to change it before, I don't know, I'm trying to create an example that I can't even think of, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're always thinking about the body, the environment, and the time. And then that creates like stress within your head. And obviously there can be real stresses with that, like getting mauled by a bear or whatever. But these are like internal stresses that I'm trying to create. I can't even think of one, but you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. And then one thing that he says to get out of like when you're in that stress state and you're over like indulgent, self-important, self-centered mindset is to really tap into creation. And whenever I read that in his book, I also read it in The Power of Now recently, but like all of the books that have ever told me about me being addicted to stress or me being in the thought loop patterns that don't suit me in my life, keeping me stuck and not being able to change, is when I'm not tapping into creation. Because when I think about it, anytime I'm in creation, whether that's dance, whether that's creating content, whether that's whatever, there's so many ways to create art, whatever, right? Those moments, like time goes away from me. Like hours will pass and I'm like, damn, like I've been doing this for how many hours? I've been doing this for how long? Nothing matters but that present moment. And it just made me realize how important like really tapping into more dance in my life. Every time I'm dancing more, every time I'm going to the gym more, moving my body, like, because I feel like even something as simple as lifting weights can be creation, right? You're creating your own system and whatever you want to do, right? So like anything can be creation, but like really what matters is about tapping into the present moment, because tapping into the present moment, you're like into the quantum field, and the quantum field can allow you to like quantum jump. And whenever you're quantum jumping, you're in a full new state of self-embodiment and where you want to be. You're your higher self, right? And so yeah, it just really made me realize how important like 100% dance really is for me in general, but like every creation that I've ever done, even when I sat with Kelsey the other day and we did that live, I haven't picked up a pen or pencil in so long and just like allowed myself to draw, because I've always told myself I'm not a drawer. I don't know what I'm doing. And she told me, just like dance And just like somatic work, you know, you don't have to know that. You just like dance, right? You can move your body anyway. And like that is dancing. That is creation. You can start drawing and coloring on a page. That is dance. I mean, that is dance. That is art. That is creation. Like you don't have to know how to do something in order to do it, in a sense, you know?
Yeah. Art is subjective, like dance
Mm-hmm.
completely.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen $1 million paintings that are just abstract. Like it's not, yes, there are some really talented artists out there that can do like
Mm-hmm.
portraits that look like it was done on a computer, right? Like that, there's some serious talent there. And I'm not saying there's other, but there's art's so subjective. It's just so subjective all over the place. And like we live in a world now, like I feel like we're in a culture now, where if you're not extremely talented at something and making money off of it, then why do it? Where I feel like we're losing in this capitalistic hellfire we're in. I feel like we're really losing the like joys of creation just to create, sitting down and doodling just to doodle, and drawing and allowing yourself to be bad at doing something because it's just fun and it's creative and it's an outlet where hobbies, if they're not monetized, subconsciously we're like, okay, well, if I can't monetize this, what am I doing? But in reality, like you don't have to be a $1 million artist just to like draw on paper and get benefits and enjoy it and release in that way and it be you creating art. You
Yeah.
don't have to sell something or be paid to do something to be creating.
Mm-hmm.
What, you know, and it's not about monetizing off that creation. It's about that release and about being present in that moment and allowing your brain to like tap into creation because it's so good for your brain too, and imagination and all these things that as adulthood hits, we kind of lose. I know when I was a kid, I would always draw and paint and color and write. I used to do creative writing just for fun all the time, and I really lost that. And when I'm the same as you, like when I tap into doing that for fun, it's like, wow, I'm present, I'm here, I'm not stressed about something, I'm enjoying it, and I'm like, it's a release. And we often don't allow ourselves to do that. I know I can't speak for everyone. There are people who definitely do, but me, I've had to remind myself that like I can just color to color and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it and release and tap in and like take that stress and that chaos out of my mind, because when I do sit down and do something like that, it's like I'm not. And there's many ways. You were talking about with Fred, and wanted to jump back to that because I feel like that's another thing. Is a lot of us came from, well, me and you have come from really toxic relationships. So in a healthy relationship where things are like chill and there's not a lot of chaos in that. I know myself, I definitely have to like stop myself from picking dumbass fights because
Yeah.
it's too chill. It's too like let me spice something up here real quick for my brain to sit and ruminate on.
Yeah.
Like let's not. And I do have to check myself too. And I just want to let you know, like I relate to that. And I often have to like remind myself, like, yep, you're just grabbing something out of thin air for what? Because you're uncomfortable in
Mm-hmm.
peace, uncomfortable in being in like a peaceful and healthy relationship. And like, I'm really grateful for Daniel because often he won't entertain it that much, but that's why we're so healthy, because he
Yeah.
won't entertain it, but
Fred
also,
won't either. Yeah.
um, but also like it's me and it's something that I have to tap into and like really ask myself, like straight up, like get really fucking real with myself a lot, because I will play victim mode over dumb shit just to like create this like environment where everyone's tense for what?
Mm-hmm.
For what? And it's just because like it's hard, and I have to ask myself like, look, is this, it's the same with Oliver. It's really the same essential question. Is this a me problem or is this a him problem? Because 99% of the time it's a me problem that I'm creating when I could just brush it off and enjoy being in like a happy state all day long. And like, it's really a choice of like, how happy are you willing to let yourself be without ruining it in your mind over something that is like not valid.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the creation point, when you're living in creation, you're living like a nobody. That's something that the book says. And what he means by that is like, when you think about it, when you're in that stress, it's because you're trying to be a somebody. So it kind of goes back to that body, the environment, and the time. So even when it comes to creation, right? For me specifically, I've been in moments where like I love dance and I love shuffling. But as soon as the camera gets on me, like it's like I'm not as present as I would have been if I would have just been freestyling without the camera on, because now I'm trying to perform for somebody because I know that I might post this. And then it takes all the joy and fulfillment out of it for me. Not all the time, but I got into this state within my like dance and shuffling where like I would always be putting the camera on me. And so I was never just like fully allowing myself to move and be present. And I forgot where I was going with this, but what I'm trying to say is like, so just make sure that whenever you are in this creative state, and kind of like what Danielle said, right? Whenever you're choosing to do something creative and you're like, man, this isn't going to give me money, so why am I going to do it? Like, do it just to do it. Do it to have fun. That's what I was going to say. So with shuffling, like once I stopped telling myself like, oh, I'm going to make this because I'm going to put it on Instagram, it's like, oh, I'm just recording myself just to record myself. I don't have to put it anywhere. That goes away again for me. So it's like when we start to put too much pressure on ourselves to be a somebody, to be somebody to somebody, then we put so much stress on ourselves. But if you just allow yourself to be in this present moment and allow yourself just to create for nobody but yourself, right? To be free and liberated within your creation, it allows you to be fully present. And another thing he says is when you're in a creative state, you forget about the habit of being you and you become selfless. You are in the present moment, pure consciousness. So you're pure consciousness when you're creating. So really tap into, that's like one homework I would say for you guys is like, if you haven't picked up a pencil in a while just to color, if you haven't maybe write, like Danielle was saying, if you haven't just allowed yourself to write. Even for me, I've thought about creative poems. If you haven't created a poem, if you haven't danced for a while, like whatever it is that you can tap into creation, like allow yourself to do that, because in those moments, nothing else matters. And I think it's just like, it's such an easy thing that we can actually do. It's something like very tangible that each of us can do. Like, don't try to go learn a choreography or anything like that. Like, just play some music and start tapping into like whatever your body wants to do, however it wants to move. Because I feel like in those moments, like especially with somatic dance, it's allowed me to even be more present within my like freestyle dancing with shuffling. Because like shuffling, once you know the foundational moves, it's like it comes second nature. So you are still freestyling, even if you're doing like, you know, the same running man or T-stepping or whatever it is. You could say that's choreography, but that's like just the foundational steps. But it's really allowed me to use more arm movements and move my body more, like not like I've ever done in the past, because I've been too afraid of what it might look like to the outside, to what people would view me as, right? So a lot of the time we're creating that stress. And so, yeah, just tap into creation. And then to really, something that I've learned is like really disidentify with it. And I've heard this in the past, and I don't think I ever really realized what that meant. Like disidentify with the thing, okay, just don't do it. Like, no, a lot of the time we're saying like, when you're, for instance, shame and guilt, right? When you're in this like shameful state, like, oh man, I'm so stupid. I didn't do that right. I didn't say that right. Let's take a step back and just look at it for what it is. Instead of saying I am, say, wow, you could have said like, man, that could have been worded differently. You don't have to put you in it, you know, like that could have been worded differently. You can say like, I could have studied a little better or things like that, but like, don't put whatever that negative connotation is on yourself, because then you're allowed to like disidentify from it. And if you see yourself doing that, just try to disidentify. Like that would be the easy thing. But like shame is I am bad. And I was learning this from, man, I forgot her name. She talks about vulnerability. You know what I'm talking about? Brene Brown.
Brene Brown, yeah.
Yeah. She says shame is I am bad. And she says guilt and shame aren't the same, right? Because they're not. But she says shame is I am bad and guilt is I did something bad. So like I am stupid, an idiot, I'm a loser, like this self-talk about yourself, right? And then instead you can say like, that was a stupid thing to do. Like say if you went out and you got super drunk, this was actually an example she said, and I've done this multiple times in my life. I've had really bad hang anxiety where like the next day I'm like just telling myself I'm stupid, anxiety. Yeah. Where I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm a loser, like all this stuff, like everybody hates me. I'm like thinking the worst, right? But then she talks about how like, instead of saying all of that about yourself, don't make it about you, but say like, that was a stupid thing to do last night. And maybe it was because you missed the meeting that you needed to go to the next day, right? Like that was a stupid thing to do last night. I should have came home earlier. I should have had some water at the end of the night or whatever it is. But just to really try to step out of this is all me. This is, I'm stupid. I'm, all of the bad words that you can say to yourself.
Yeah, self-identifying as that, like, and it puts it more of a like, I'm always this. It's tying it in, whereas it's just like, oh, just a moment, and that's a practice. If you're like thinking
all
about
of this
that,
is a practice.
yeah, all of it's a constant practice, and you're not always going to be good at it. I just want to like, because that's been one that it's taken me a couple of years to get really good at rewiring being so mean to myself in my head. I'm stupid was one that I used very, very, very often, and I never realized it at all until like I became more conscious of like my inner dialogue. And I changed it a lot, like when I was really trying but struggling to like take the I am. I shifted it to like, oh, I'm being silly. Oh, I'm just being silly, instead of like I'm stupid. Yeah, and the I'm silly, and it like changes the vibe of it. Even though it's still kind of like an I am situation, it changes the vibe from being like serious to like kind of lighthearted. Like, oh, that's silly. Oops, that was silly. I'm having a silly moment, and it makes it more like kind of like lighthearted and funny, and kind of like, okay, not a big deal, just a moment. And that one's helped me a lot. And I like now, instead of saying like, my brain automatically is just like, oh, silly, that was silly. And but it took time. It took a lot of time because unconscious, and it's still, I'm not saying perfect. There's definitely still moments where I like have an I am situation. And I have to go back and be like, all right. And it's the same with like when I get overwhelmed, I struggle with being like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. And it's like, no, I'm having feelings of overwhelm.
Yeah. Same with anxiousness too. Like I have anxiety. Nope. I have anxious feelings right now. Like,
yeah. And I already said this earlier. That one I struggle with a lot because I do have issues with anxiety sometimes. And so, it's definitely a practice, and one that just takes time.
Yeah. Awareness, acceptance. Yeah. Acceptance that you're doing that thing, not acceptance that you are that thing. And another thing I was going to say was we do this often is the restful and lazy, like try to switch those out too. I started using restful instead of lazy because oftentimes I'd, be laying around, or sometimes as a mom, but it's like, I'm just restful, and that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
We can all be restful.
And as active mothers, there's no lazy about it. Like, it's literally impossible. So I think you checked me on that one day, and you're like, we can't. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I can't be lazy. I'm up at 6 a.m. even if I don't want to be, because my child is awake and I am already starting my day and he's going 1,000 miles per minute. Like, I'm not lazy, but I have restful days. Or we're just valid. And like, I need them. Yeah. We all need them. Rest is powerful, and being constantly in this stress. Whenever you talk about creativity, there was another tip, or not a tip. It was just a TikTok I saw, but to me it was like, wow, a reminder that like we are in control of so much creation. And we like, she was talking about how she was going to just start posting on Instagram like it was 2012, where she just like pictures of her food, selfies, pictures of the birds she sees, the places she goes, just like simple like just photos, and whatever she wanted to, without some curated algorithm thinking of kind of like feed. And it had so many people on there talking about like how like they wish they could do that and things like this. And like, that's a form of creation. Like, if we live in a world where your social media page is creative, you are creating a page, a persona, whatever you're creating on there. It's like, it's you. And I know I am totally guilty of doing this. Sometimes I get caught up in the algorithm, what other people, and just like Dakota was talking about, like doing things for others for the sake of who you want someone else. And like, we've lost touch of even just posting for fun, and like allowing ourselves to just put on our feed whatever the hell we want, whether it's, every single meal you eat, or something that isn't like just off beaten path. And like, I loved it because in my head I was like, I want to start doing that too. I want to take it back. Like, I want to take it back and post whatever I want sometimes, like, and not have to worry about like, an algorithm or all this like
Or how many likes I'll get, or
yeah, and like so that one of the comments said that they were like, yeah, and me all proud of my 10 likes. And I was like, that's
yes.
so true, because like when we first started, that's what it was. Like I didn't give a shit how many people liked it. I was just posting. Like I really could care less back then. Like I got over, if it could move from the names to 11 likes, so say less. Like
Shit, one like at this point, especially when you're like speaking facts and speaking truth and you're coming from your heart, all that matters is that one person, really yourself, to be honest.
yeah,
So that
and
if once you see that one person, they're like, oh, man, this really touched my soul. It's like, I feel so lit up right now. I'm so glad I
yeah.
created this.
And so it's really about taking the pressure off and like allowing yourself to like, you don't want to, it's another way of creating stress within something that's supposed to be stress free. Like
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
let me create stress. Okay. Instead of just creating, you're worried about what other people are going to think. Is this good? Am I good enough? Should I even do? It's like so many, it's just more worry thoughts. And it's like, and that's what I meant earlier in the beginning, when we don't even realize how often we are creating stress in our minds when you're addicted to it. There might be people who are like, I have no idea what y'all are talking about. And good for you. Love that for you.
I wish I did it some days.
But that's, if you are someone who is like addicted to stress and worry, and you're like, damn, this hits. I relate to a lot of this. And it's like, yeah, because we live in a world, it's a kind of like easy, especially with hustle culture, and like the reward we give in our society for being burnt out, tired. I'm so
Literally.
busy. I sleep like 2 hours, and we reward people for this. We're like, hell yeah, dude, 3 jobs. This
Thank
is
you. Work
that. Fuck
hard.
yeah, you're a hard worker. And it's like, do you rest? No, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
I've heard that so many
I've
times.
said that so many times.
Sleep when I'm dead. Okay, that was when we were raving. Okay, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not, because it was for that, for work and for that. But every time I was working like that, it was for a rave. So like, yeah, they're one and the same.
Yeah,
Don't worry about me. I'll see when I'm dead. But that's the thing. It's like we're caught up in this like reality where like that is the culture. Where move, side job, side hustle, side business, monetize that hobby, monetize that hobby. Like it's
Can we just be?
can we just fucking exist for 5 seconds? Like, oh, and then you have people, let me fix your time, your layout on your Instagram so you can have this. And it's like, so everything's so busy and so curated and so like we must be. And so it creates a lot of stress, and we don't even realize it, like how much we're just stressing over every little thing and all these things that really aren't necessary.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was like when you're creating like a to-do list for your day, like this goes with like, hustle culture and all that. I feel like in the past I would have like 15 things on my to-do list for the day, right? And then I would just be so overwhelmed. And then when I wouldn't get anything done, I would shame myself like, oh my God, I didn't do that. How could I do that? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, hold on. Let's take a step back, right? And whenever I started to take a step back, and I think I got this from Manifestation Babe, but it was to write a to manifest list. Like, these are the things I want to manifest, not to do. And on top of that, you only write like 4 things max, like 4 things max. Because if you do over 4 things, then you feel more accomplished. Whereas if you accomplish those 4 things, you still feel accomplished. Like only put a few things on your list so that you don't feel overwhelmed, so you don't feel stressed out about it, so that you can actually get those things done and feel good about it. Like, instead of putting 15 things on your list and then shaming yourself for it and then creating stress that way, like, just take a step back. It's not that serious, not that deep.
Yeah, no, it was Manifestation Babe, because I started doing it from that same episode. She talked about it. And also I don't do the 4 things only, but I do write manifestation, and I stopped writing the day. Stop writing Tuesday manifestation. I just put manifestation list for my day, and I've released the need to get it all done that day.
Yeah, that works.
I write what I want to get done. And unless it's, I usually try and put like things that are like for sure that I want to get done at the top. But like if I don't finish something, I'm like, I literally will just put, okay, Tuesday manifestation list instead of Monday. That's the rest that I want to get done, and like release myself from this like must have it done today, which really helped me a lot, because before I would definitely be like, oh, now what am I doing? Just cross it out, right? Tuesday. That's what you do. What do you mean? It's okay. None of
Like,
this
it's
is
not
even
that
like
serious.
life or it's like laundry. And I'm like, oh, I didn't finish. Like, bitch, chill.
We make it mean so much about us when it means nothing at all. Like, that's a list you created. Like, you can recreate the list. Like, it can be so simple. And that's really when we get attached to being that somebody. And instead, we should be attached to being nobody, because nobody cares. Like, literally, no one cares about themselves except themselves. Like, if we really think about it, obviously, we love each other and all of, consciousness and all of that. But if you really
Yeah.
think about it, you think about you first. And whenever you tap into like, literally being a nobody, it goes back to creating content and not caring if you get 1 or 0 likes. Like, you are living so like freely, because who cares? I really wish they would take off the likes like for everybody on that thing. Like, comments fine, but likes, I feel like that would really help everybody.
It would. And it's just, fuck, I forgot. I was going to say something. My brain just went.
That's been me this whole podcast episode. So thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for bearing with us. My brain. I need some coffee.
Oh, yeah. That same. But also, I was going to say, especially so if you are like someone who relates to like going, and then all of a sudden you're like a stay-at-home mom and you're struggling. And I'm talking about like stay-at-home moms who have to stay at home. Those that have the financial means to constantly be going and doing stuff, maybe you're still able to like kind of stay addicted to that stress. But if you find yourself really struggling, like Dakota and I have, and you're creating a lot, it's probably because that you're not used, like it's going to take some time to like honor being in the slow life. It's going to take some time to like adjust. Like, everything you're feeling is valid because you're adjusting to a whole new pace of life and a whole new like reality where you don't have that much to stress about, aside from like taking care of your kids and whatever. I'm not saying it's not stressful. Again,
No.
it's just like you might find, like, check in with yourself and ask if you're just like creating extra stress where it's just because you feel unsafe being in peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so just check in with yourself a lot, because unless you like, there's valid, some people live in really stressful households, not talking about y'all, but if you're just like creating a lot of stress and like stressful situations, and like Dakota mentioned earlier, it can come out in anger, feelings of overwhelm, feelings of anxiety, feelings of a lot of these things can lead down to the root cause just being like your body feels very uncomfortable without having to like perform and do things and like be in the chaotic state. And especially if you're in a healthy relationship where you're used to old like toxic, it's takes some time, and it takes a lot of checking in and a lot of kind of reality checking yourself and being real with yourself, in a sense that you become aware of some of these things so that you can heal them and shift it later. And it takes time. So go easy on yourself, have a lot of self-compassion for it, because like I said in the beginning, patterns can come up. You can be aware, and then all of a sudden they pop back up and you're like, feel like you're regressing, but you really are moving forward every time you acknowledge them and become aware and shift from out of that.
100%. And especially whenever you lead with compassion for yourself as well, instead of, again, shame, guilt, whatever, right? And something that we don't do this, but I really wanted to leave you guys with this, is like just some homework, actually, because I feel like this has 100% shifted what I've done in my life and how I've been able to not be as stressed. Not saying it never comes up. Okay. But it's not as stressful for me. It goes back to like decluttering. And I think I've mentioned this maybe in the past, but like this has really helped me. So like, yes, declutter like, your house, because that will help you with less stress. But I'm really talking about like social media. So I know a lot of us
Yes.
use social media a lot of the time. Okay. And even, I'm just going to slip this in real quick. Something that I learned as well from Maddie's course is that whenever we are constantly consuming, like that is actually like we're consuming so much that we're not even allowing ourselves to process. So then that's creating stress within our lives too. Not only that, all the added stress of like, who's going to like it? Why am I it's really like taking a moment whenever you're decluttering to look like, why am I following this person? Does this person add value to my life or not? And if they don't add value, then just unfollow. And I know a lot of the time, with social media, it's like, oh, you unfollowed me. Like, that's so rude because it's such a thing now. But do what's right for you. Just unfollow that person. It took me some balls to like really, not even balls, took me some ovaries to really like, took me some
That's what I'm
ovaries
talking
to
about.
like, yeah, to really unfollow these people because I'm like, man, I've known them, but I really don't care for their content. Like their content makes me sad, or they're always bashing something, or they're always talking down about something. It's like I don't have to follow them. And I just started to literally unfollow so many people. I used to follow like 2,000 people. Now I follow like 800. I went down like, and took me a while. I mean, you're not going to do this overnight. Like give yourself some time. And honestly, you'll notice people will pop up on your feed and you're like, oh wait, I actually don't want to follow them. So just start decluttering slowly but surely. And it'll allow you to really like, one, be able to process your emotions and everything more. And two, not care so much about the people that don't care about you, to be quite honest. Like, does this person add value to my life? And if they do, then awesome. They probably care about you. You may be connected with them. Maybe y'all are good friends. They have good content. And if they don't, then like, are you just creating a narrative around your life with them? Like, they don't need to be there. And a lot of time
Yeah.
we're creating stories.
No, 100%. I recently did that when you did, and I was struggling to like even like I met this person in line at the porta potties EDC 2014.
Literally.
Never talked to them again. Just they were beautiful at EDC 2014. It's been 10 years. Never even interacted with this person. Like I don't even care. Like let them go. Declutter and take that advice because it really does help clean up. And like we do, social media is 1000% a form of putting ourselves in fight or flight, comparisonitis, all of these stressful like thoughts and feelings. Oh, I don't have that, this and that. And all that creates internal stress too. And being like kind of more aware of like when you're picking up your phone and checking in, like, am I scrolling because I feel at peace and I kind of want to create something that's not so peaceful in my body and mind? And allowing yourself to like, if someone makes you feel icky or you don't like their content, let them go.
Or
If
mute them. You can also
yeah,
mute them on Instagram.
you don't have to keep in touch with everyone you went to high school with, everyone you went into middle school with, everybody you've come across in a bathroom stall. Like it's literally, it's not that serious. You can let them go and it'll help declutter. Also, I'm a huge fan of decluttering your actual like space.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dakota is too, especially when you have children and it's constantly like, I was just looking at Oliver's toys and I was like, I've got this. That's my project this week, is to actually go through his like toys and get rid of stuff that's just creating mess for me to pick up. Stress.
Mm-hmm.
Ugly stuff he doesn't mess with anymore. And it's just creating like clutter in places that, again, I have to pick up and I get annoyed with. And it's like, for what? Get rid of it. Let it go.
Why do I have such a hard time decluttering my kids' toys?
No,
like, why
for
can't I
real.
just throw them away? Why can't I just, well, not throw them away. I like to donate them, but like, I also just struggle with them. Like, I should be selling this. And it kind of goes back to the creating stress thing. It's like, just give it away, girl. Just give it away.
That's what Daniel brought this jacket home. It was like, it's a leather Gap jacket. He was like, I figured you could sell it. And I was like, I don't want that. I don't even want it. Like, selling can be stressful online. Yeah. If anyone's ever sold anything online, you know what I'm talking about. It's just like, I don't want to hassle with people over a couple bucks. I don't want to meet up with someone. I don't want to have a lead and then be waiting for them to not show. I don't
want them to offer me like half the price that I offered.
Like, let me just donate stuff. And like, yeah, I have, there's a lot of energies. That's another podcast, but like literally decluttering your life will create less stress. Like get some of that shit that's just sitting in your closet and let it go. I'm the worst. My dad passed down a, hoarder gene or something because I really struggle with like holding on to everything and I get nostalgic about it. Like the other day I threw away a New Orleans grenade cup, like the plastic cup they give you in Bourbon Street with the drink from 2010. You know where it's just been sitting and I've just been moving it around with me this whole time. Have I ever used it? No. Have I ever re-looked at it? No.
Not only that, but they hold energy. So when you're decluttering in your house, it allows you to get that energy out. Like if you think about it, just like she said, right, that was from 2010. She could probably think about 5 memories around that cup, good or bad. And then it's just like
but yes, you are right. Yeah. They do carry an energy and a thing, and like we want to release that. And that's why I said that could be a whole podcast in itself. But truthfully,
we should make it a podcast.
We should. Truthfully, all these things just allow you to kind of like, and the more, and as a mom, especially as a mom, the more we have to clean, the more we see, I don't know, I'm a Virgo, mess and disorganization can create its own stress level in me. I struggle with, and that's something I've had to like learn, like, okay, mess is okay. He's just a kid, and like try not to pass like that kind of like energy down. But it's definitely something that I've realized that like the less clutter around my house, the less automatic stress my body feels. Yeah. And it's about knowing that about yourself too. So really check in and be aware of certain things that like you might not think are causing you stress, but like whenever you clear it, check into that feeling, like get rid of a bunch of stuff and look around and like organize and see like a little less chaos, and you might actually feel a little less internal chaos. And if you're allowing that kind of to build up, then that might be your way. You're allowing yourself to stay kind of addicted to the stress and like constantly worried about the mess you got to clean up because you haven't taken out like all the stuff your kids aren't playing with. Like that's been mine this week that I've realized is a way that I'm kind of staying stuck in stress is he dumps all these toys out. He'll dump the baskets, but he wants nothing to do with all these little plastic trinkets. You know, when you get a kid, people will give you a bunch of stuff all the time. And so it's like, you got to get rid of it because sometimes you're just creating more stress. And that's what I realized the other day. I was like, I got to get rid of these toys because I'm picking them up, stressing myself out over them being all over the floor. For what? When I could just donate them to someone else to stress them out. I'm just kidding.
Every time I walk into my closet, I'm like, no, this needs to be done. This needs to be done. And then I don't do it. And then every time I'm walking in the closet, I keep saying that. So it's creating more stress in my head. Yes. So 100% resonate with that. And I feel like because you're doing it this week, I should do it too, honestly. And I wanted to leave a couple more homework. So declutter, right? I'm asking you guys to do this homework because I know it will help you with the stress levels. Take a drama break. So if you're like me and you watch all the reality TV shows, take a damn break. And then I think that correlates with when you declutter your social media. Like if someone, maybe it's like a drama show that you actually follow on social media and it doesn't add value, right? It's not giving you any like motivation for life or anything like that. Like just unfollow that or mute it as well. And then I would honestly say even give yourself a social media break, like fully, like maybe take a week or a weekend or a day. Me and Danielle do Saturdays off social media is what we have been for the past, like, I don't know, a couple of months. And it's honestly been so helpful because then I'm able to like fully know that I don't have to be on social media. I don't have to like not perform, but pretty much like put any content out and just be with my like family presently, be in my day-to-day presently. Maybe that is content creation all day, or maybe it's going to dance. Maybe I'm able to add more creation in my life on Saturdays because of that. And I have been, you know. And so I would really just, you know, I would suggest taking a social media break. And then also if you aren't, or if you do, either way, create more than you consume. So if you're realizing you're consuming on social media for like an hour, 2 hours a day, then create for an hour or 2 hours a day. Like do the same, or, you know, creating can be create more than you consume, like I just said. So you can do that 3 and 2, but as long as you're meeting both requirements, like 2 hours and 2 hours, like you're good, but just make sure you're creating, because a lot of time we're just consuming. And I'll even be honest, this week has been a lot of consumption for me. So I think next week I'm going to tap into like a whole bunch of creation, because I also have been feeling that call to do so as well. And then if you aren't creating, go create. This is the last homework. Via art, dancing, singing, writing, content creating, whatever it is for you, like go create this week. If you haven't done it in a long time, I bet you it'll be so freeing and liberating for you.
Yeah. And I just want to piggyback on what she's saying and remind you that it's create more than you consume. Also goes for like, if you're over here and you're like, well, I don't even get on social media that much. How much TV do you watch? Because it's consuming also. Okay. Create more than you consume is more a blanket term for not more than just social media. It is also like the TV, the movies, whatever you're consuming that's not in creation mode. We're talking to you too. And also if you think you've won because you don't watch dramatic reality TV shows, because I dabble, but I don't watch them consistently. But you know what I do watch? Really high intensity dramas.
Or crime.
It's the same. Yeah, true crime. It's the same thing. It's the same. It's a different kind of stress, and it's a different kind of high and a dopamine hit, but it is the same nonetheless. So if you find, and I had to call myself out the other day because I was watching some really sad movie and now I'm all sad and I'm crying and I'm thinking, and then I'm putting myself in that position and it's like,
dude,
bitch, I'll do it on TikTok too. I get all into someone's sad story. And now I'm crying and I'm going down a rabbit hole and now I'm stressed. Like, what if that were to happen to me? How would I? No, it's the same thing. And so
No.
be really careful with what you consume. And like, I know none of us are perfect. I'm not claiming to be perfect at it. Like I just said, I go down my own rabbit holes too. But like, what we consume really can create this internal chaos, and it can be social media or television or movies. If you're like a horror movie, all that stuff creates like really crazy energy in your body too. And so this is all a blanket term, so don't count yourself out just because it wasn't mentioned first. But yeah, no, we all do it in different forms. If it's not the same form, we find ways. So your genre might be that way too. Even if it's not Bravo TV, it's still stressful, because true crime is stressful too, ladies. And I know a lot of us are addicted to that. And me, I'll be watching Law and Order SVU and then wonder why I'm stressed out about predators with my kid, because I'm watching Law and Order SVU like it's a marathon. Okay.
No, every time my mom would put crime on, I'd be like, I'm walking out of the room. But then I'm over here watching drama in the next room. Like, that's still stress, girl. Creating the same thing that your mama creates in her mind. Like, the thing is, my mom, like, okay, this is just a random side story, and sorry you gotta hear this, but I've always valued my mom. I always value my mom, but this thing specifically, right? Like, every time we'd watch a scary movie, she wouldn't even jump, and she would love to watch scary movies. And so, like, my mom has just, to me, always been such a tough person because she's not scared of nothing. And I'm like, that has to be because she watched so much crime. She watches all of the scary movies.
Could be internal. She's just internalizing that stress, bro.
She doesn't outwardly project it.
She doesn't have to outwardly project it, but somehow she's getting that dopamine hit from it.
No, for sure. No, I just mean, like, she's tough is what I meant.
No, your mom is tough.
No, we know. Irma,
she's been scaring me since like she's 13.
Okay, the last and final homework I want, or just, tidbit of a little thing that you should do, is give yourself some damn rest. You need to rest, girl. Boy, whoever's listening, give yourself some rest. Like, seriously, take a break, because this is just a small example and story, but like, Danielle and I took these 2 weeks off because we just mentally needed a break. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to put a podcast out every week. It was for a while that we felt that. But now we're coming to terms that like every other week is better for us, for one. And for two, we just get some more rest in. We get family time in. We're not as stressed. And whenever you can really just like take a step back and trust in the universe that even though I'm not putting out content every day or putting out content every week, like the universe is still going to provide. And we've blatantly seen that this week. Like, just a little, I'll just like woohoo, like,
we celebrate our wins.
Okay, we're gonna celebrate our win. We gained like almost 500 followers, like, over these 2 weeks, right? Was it like 500 followers? Yeah, over 2 weeks. And
honestly, more at this point, because we're almost to 1,000, and we had like literally 200, 300 maybe. I think we had like three something.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know if all of that would have happened if we wouldn't have took these 2 weeks off, because we wouldn't have putting out the same content. We wouldn't have, so just like trust in your intuition to take that break too, because that was why we even took the break. Like, whenever you're dreading something, not that we ever dread the podcast, but it was just like, I was honestly dreading having to sit down and do it and then create the content afterwards and all of the things. And when you're in that place of dread, like, just take a break. Because now I feel so lit up to get back on it. You know what I mean? Because I absolutely love the podcast. Especially when it's something you love and you're feeling dread, take a break.
Yeah, rest is important, and also will help you practice kind of being in a peaceful state and allow you to like allow that present state. Also, tapping into joy. We're going to actually expand on this episode, on this particular topic in a full episode, because there's so much more to it. But I do want to remind you that like the more we're able to tap into joy and allow ourselves to do things just for the joy of it, like just for the fuck of it, like no outcome tied to it, no like reason tied to it, like it allows us to kind of like elevate and allow ourselves to be safe in the space of joy just for fun. Like, and so, we're going to talk more about that, but really tap into things that you find joy in and day-to-day things that are joyful for you, so that you have those moments where you can really just be present and having fun just to have fun.
100%. Because I think even as simple as sometimes I feel like I'm doing something fun and I have to create content for what I'm doing. It's like, no, can I just enjoy the present moment,
Yes.
Like,
We'll especially for content creators. I think a lot of us tend to feel like everything needs to be filmed, or feeling bad about not getting something that could have been good content filmed. But in reality, like, just enjoy life. It's okay. There's plenty of content to be made. Truthfully.
Amen.
It's all right.
Honestly.
It's not that serious.
Last but not least, if that's all you have to touch on, Dee, let's go into our affirmation of the day, and I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so the affirmation for today, and this is one I use a lot, is I inhale peace and exhale worry. And so, and you can do it like literally after I say it, I usually like inhale peace and then I say worry as I exhale. So that one's helped me a lot, but I do want to honorary mention the be here now statement, because that's like a really short one that you can kind of cling to whenever you're like, find your thoughts racing everywhere. Just check in, be here now, and like ground yourself. Like trees are green, I hear birds, I hear that, and that'll help you kind of like bring yourself into the present moment that you're in, and like out of this like whatever worry base you're in.
Yeah. So or even what you're feeling, touching, you can touch yourself, you know, all the things. But yes, I think that is all we have for you guys. And as always, if you felt like this was something that resonated with you, please share it with someone that you feel like it would also resonate with. And also leave us a review if you enjoyed it. Obviously, leaving reviews, we get to touch more people's lives. We get to create more community, which I do want to mention this too, which we didn't even talk about mentioning this, but we created a like a gathering, like a women's gathering, and really what we're trying to do is just create that community. It's, you don't have to show up and be anybody but yourself. Just show up with everything that you have. Like I'm talking about the heaviness, the shit. Like we're here just to like sit down in that circle, aka on Zoom, and just really talk about what's going on in our lives and connect and get closer, because as mothers, we know, this is specifically for moms, but I know a lot of people feel this, right? We can tend to be isolated, and isolation brings us apart, and it creates stress in our lives. It creates so much negative in our lives. So just being able to like have that monthly circle, where I think we're going to start doing it monthly, and just come together and just spew out whatever the fuck is going on in our lives and be honest about it and be nobody else but ourselves, I think will really help us create more connection within the community and with one another, and just feel better all around. So we created one this past month. We're going to create another one this upcoming month, and I really hope you do feel called to join. Again, no pressure. You don't even have to show up to share. Just show up. I bet you'll feel better just showing up. And yeah, I really want to hang out. Yeah, like I just want some friends, okay?
No, but really, we just want a safe space to connect with others, and right now that's where we're at. It can be Zoom. Hopefully one day we will have them more in person. Just right now, Zoom's easy for everyone, and yeah, we want you to come hang out with us, and if you feel called, we would really love it.
Yeah, and it's free.
Yeah,
it's free. So just show up, bro. Don't have to pay a penny. Just give me your email. No, but seriously. Okay, guys, we love you so much, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, and see y'all in the next episode.
Yes, bye.
Bye.